welcome to the Fantasy Wildcard Show. I'll be your host, Ali. You can follow me on Twitter at FF Dynasty Grill. And with me, as always, my two amazing co-hosts. I'll introduce Kev first. You can follow on Twitter at Dynasty_GOAT. How you doing tonight, Kev?
Good evening, lads. Yeah, doing very good. Eagerly anticipating a lot of the charity tournaments that are coming up very, very soon. Just keeping my mind fresh and trying to do a little bit of research on this season's players itself, I guess, with it being more of a redraft type charity event. But doing very good. How are you?
Yeah, really good. Cheers. It's been a really interesting day in England with the government in shambles, and we've got I was following the cricket as well today, which was rather entertaining. And like you said, it is an exciting time. Got the charity tournaments coming up, the drafts coming up in July with all different settings and rules. So we're having to get your head around that. But we're going to carry on the Dynasty theme.
Yes.
So we'll come to our second amazing co-host, Matt. You can follow on Twitter at MattFFDynasty. How you doing, Matt?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good, thanks. Like you said, we've had a bit of sporting as well over at Britain. Obviously, British Grand Prix this past weekend. Wimbledon been going. I've actually just finished watching. Is it Cam Norrie got to the semis currently? So been interesting. Don't really watch much tennis, but kind of caught my attention. Like you mentioned, cricket as well. Again, I don't really follow cricket, but plenty of sport going on. I'm loving it.
Indeed. That leads us on nicely to our topic tonight, although people that we like to people that we don't like so much, and talk about some dynasty sells. So could we discuss some dynasty sells and trade ideas to pivot up into maybe a tier above, to trade within the same tier, or to pivot down to a tier below and pick up some draft capital. So these are all going to be players we're both individually and collectively lower on than the market at Keep Trade Cut. So it's really interesting guys here. We're naturally going to start at the quarterback position. And on to you, Kev, first. Who's the first quarterback we're going to talk about?
Yeah, Dynasty Sell. We're going to be talking about Justin Fields. Keep Trade Cut have got him QB 12. Us collectively at the Wildcard, our expert consensus ranking over here as him at QB 15. So I guess the concerns I've got with Justin Fields is, first of all, the weapons. Outside of Darnell Mooney and a bit of a glimmer of hope with Cole Kmet, there's nothing there really. It's going to be a massively tough season for him to stand out. And obviously we're thinking Dynasty a few years, but this is a make or break season for him going into his second season. It also makes it really tough for him because he's got a new head coach. He's got a new GM as well, so he's got no ties in the building. And with my expectation of what the Bears are going to be like as a team this season, it's going to be one that's going to be drafted near the top of the draft next off-season. They're expected to win 6.5 games, which is between sort of pick 6 and 8, but I won't be surprised if it's even less than 6.5. I'd be betting the under on that. And just thinking back to last season, what did Justin Fields do? In 11 games that he had at least half the snaps, he scored 10.3 fantasy points per game, which was good for QB 44. Not exactly what you're looking for from a guy that's currently going as a QB1 in your dynasty startups at QB 12. So, I think what I'm going to discuss is the pivoting up for him, going from Fields to somebody going ahead of him in startups. So the trade I found was Justin Fields and a 23 second, and I'd be looking to move up to acquire Russell Wilson and a 23 third. I just feel that Russell Wilson's someone that's safe and secure. I think age is overrated as well. And if I could move up a little piece like a 23 second to drop down around but get a lot better player in my eyes, I'm up for doing that.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, Kev, that's probably the move I was going to make it if I were going to trade up someone like Russell Wilson. I talked about the age thing. It seems to get overblown with quarterbacks. And then just moving on to me, I'm going to pick a guy that's in that same tier with Justin Fields. And again, there's a guy that stands out to me that's a bit older of a quarterback, but I think you've got to go for this guy, Matthew Stafford. I mean, the fact that you can get somebody who's just finished with a quarterback 5 this past season, the offense that is in over with the Rams, the weapons that they've got, they're really in a win now situation, aren't they? So I feel like Matthew Stafford, while it may take a little regression from what he did last year, I still think he's a rock solid QB1. Whereas Justin Fields, there's potential there. Obviously, a rookie last year, so it's it's a bit harsh for us to say we're out on Justin Fields. I think it's more the ADP of QB 12. I feel like we're just 3 places below, so it's not like we're miles apart. But as I say, Matthew Stafford finished QB 5. I don't care that he's older, to be honest. 32, 33-year-old, is he? He could potentially play longer in the NFL than Justin Fields if it doesn't work out for Justin Fields. So, I think in that tier, Matthew Stafford stands out for me as somebody that I'd be looking to pivot off Fields and grab.
Wow, that's going to be a tough act to follow. Both trades that I absolutely love featuring Justin Fields, but I've got the pivot down option. So I found Justin Fields for Derek Carr and a 2023 third. Derek Carr is extremely close to Justin Fields. We have spoken, I know Kev, you've spoken a lot about these two individuals and how close they are. I think you'd actually have Carr ahead of Fields, don't you, in your rankings?
Well, maybe. I've got them two in a tier with each other, but I guess it all depends on the sort of build I'm going for. That's my polite way of saying actually Fields is slightly ahead. I've moved him back ahead like a pathetic guy that I am, but I see him a coin flip really. So it's a smashing trade.
Exactly. If you're playing on a two-year window, a short window, then Derek Carr's someone who's just acquired maybe the top wide receiver in the NFL and Devontae Adams. They reunite from past, and Derek Carr finished as was it quarterback 13 or something last season? So there's certainly a reason to believe that Derek Carr can at least match that finish again going forward. They just gave him the big contract. I know there's an out almost straight away on it, but the fact that they're paying him money, they believe in Derek Carr, they believe in Devontae Adams and what they got of the Raiders in that really tough division. But yeah, I think if you're playing in a couple of year window, you've got far more risk with Justin Fields working out with this new coaching staff with the severe lack of weapons. And then Derek Carr's got Darren Waller coming back fully fit. You've got Hunter Renfrow, who had a fantastic season last year, and then Devontae Adams, almost one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. So he's got an array of weapons. And no reason why Derek Carr shouldn't succeed and be at least a fringe quarterback one come this season. And I don't think we can say the same for Justin Fields. I think it'd be a big, massive leap for him to get up there, and I'm not backing him to do it. So I'd almost do it straight up, but just to get that 2023 third, I think that's a trade that I would make. Boys, would you make a trade similar to that, or would you want a bit more on top of Derek Carr to move Justin Fields?
I think it all comes down to your situation, like you just touched upon. I think if you're rebuilding, then you're probably not going to really want any of these 3 guys we've mentioned. We've mentioned guys that are getting up there in age and are more pivoting towards that win now situation. I mean, we could make up a scenario where Justin Fields, he has a poor year this year, but then moving into next year, get some new weapons. We know that upside that he's got in terms of running the ball. So maybe in a year's time, we might start feeling a little bit different about Justin Fields. But I just feel like his ADP is basically at getting close to his ceiling at least, and it's more of a hopeful ADP. You're hoping he can reach that kind of range, and I just feel like the guys we've mentioned there, that the solid quarterbacks that you get in the league, they've been around for years, they've proven it year after year. As you mentioned, Derek Carr, improved situation, Russell Wilson moving over to Denver, that's going to be interesting to see how it works out there, but we know the upside there, and then Matthew Stafford coming off that QB5 finish, so yeah, they're just the safe quarterbacks, aren't they? Really, it's Justin Fields, a lot of risk baked into where he's going right now.
Yeah, we're in a startup, aren't we? And one of our former guests, actually, Evan Brownie, traded his 23 first to move up and get Justin Fields, which blew my mind a bit. That I think that's not something I'd be wanting to do, and putting all my eggs in a basket of Justin Fields. But yeah, 23 firsts. Don't be going after Justin Fields with them.
No, definitely not. So we'll move on to another quarterback who we're looking to pivot off, and we'll come to you, Matt. Who's our quarterback here?
Yeah, so the next guy we're going to talk about is Mac Jones. His current Keep Trade Cut rankings QB 14, and as a collective, a far lower. We've got him at QB 22. So this is a guy that we're definitely going against the grain on, should we say? And to be honest, it's 2 different players. We've just talked about Justin Fields, who had his struggle as a rookie, and Mac Jones. He actually surprised people as a rookie. He was above average in a lot of efficiency metrics, top 10 in money throws, top 10 in in pressure completion percentage, top 10 in red zone completion percentage. But then you just look at where he finished as a quarterback, QB 18. It's just there's very little upside, isn't there, with somebody like Mac Jones. He is basically like we were saying, he needs to be Tom Brady to do good things in fantasy. And while he had a great rookie season, he's not getting up there in that Tom Brady range. So just as I say, very limited upside in terms of running the ball. Average 7.6 rushing yards per game. Again, like we talked about, Justin Fields, no real weapons over there in New England. They brought in Devontae Parker. They've drafted Tyquan Thornton, so a couple of weapons, but no real big names over there. And then you just got to look again at the running backs that they brought in. 2 more running backs. This just feels like an offense that's built to run the ball. It always has been. We know Bill Belichick loves to run the ball. We saw it last year. Was it against the Buffalo Bills, where it was pretty much all running the ball all through the game. So I just think there's still a lot of concerns with Mac Jones, and as I say, that ADP, it's starting to creep up in QB 14. Again, I think that's pretty much his ceiling in fantasy. So I'm looking to move off, and my pivot up that I'm offering up here is Mac Jones and a 23-second move up and get Trey Lance. This is another guy that as a rookie didn't show much, obviously didn't get much opportunity, but talking about upside, it's just, you can't even compare the two, can you? The upside that Trey Lance has in terms of running the ball, the offense that he's got, the weapons that he's got over there with the 49ers. I think this is a great move. Just adding a 23-second, while that class is going to be a really strong class, I think being able to move up and get a Trey Lance, if Trey Lance hits, I mean, wow, he's going to be going crazy high in startups. He could be top 5 pick, to be honest, in startups if he has a solid season next year. So yeah, that's what I'm looking to do. If I can pivot off Mac Jones, just give up that second and go and grab a Trey Lance.
Yes, I've got the same tier, so pivot to a guy in the same tier as Mac Jones and keep trade cut. I'm sticking with the theme of the 2021 rookie classes. Zach Wilson and the second overall pick from last year. Obviously, I think there's a lot more risk involved with Zach Wilson. I think if you look at Mac Jones, he's probably someone that's going to be a long-term quarterback for the New England Patriots. I think he's not going anywhere in the next possible 10 years if he carries on plan as he does. But Zach Wilson, I think, in terms of fantasy, has got a hell of a lot more upside than Mac Jones. Obviously, the New York Jets are going pretty much all in on their offense this year. They've got some huge weapons over there. So Zach Wilson's got a great chance to take a step forward. Had his struggles last season, really was pretty ugly showing in New York. But towards the second half of the season, showed a few improvements, and I think they're still all in on Zach Wilson. So I like to play Dynasty a bit riskier. I want to go for the win, and Zach Wilson's someone that can elevate himself higher in the rankings, and someone that can be good using his legs as well. We're not seeing too much of it, but we saw it in college. He can use his legs. So Zach Wilson's someone that I desperately want to pivot from Mac Jones to just get someone with a bit more upside. Yeah,
I really like both the trades that you guys put forward there, just because I think they are achievable. Going after a Lance, going after Zach Wilson. If you're owners of those guys and you're needing someone this season, you might have a little bit of concern about Trey Lance, or you might have concerns about is Zach Wilson going to be the man? So I think both those are potentials. Me pivoting down, the guy I'd be targeting is Kirk Cousins now. Keep Trade Cut reckons you can send a 24 first with Mac Jones to get Kirk Cousins and a 23 first. Personally, I don't think that would get it done, but I've actually got Cousins higher than Mac Jones. So if I could steal a year at any round, if it was a round 2 pick and I could move it from 24 to 23, I'd do that as well. I think Kirk Cousins is in line to have a career year, a little bit like Matt Stafford last season. The fact that he's going to a new team, a new system, pass heavy. I really see him taking a big step again this season. So I'd be looking to move to Kirk Cousins. I'd even do it straight up, to be honest. If you can get anything on top, especially moving up in 23, I'd be all over that. But just on Mac Jones, I think it's more situation than talent. I think prospect-wise, and don't kill me on this one, but I don't see a big gap between a guy like him and Joe Burrow. I think a lot of it's to his situation. Put Mac Jones into Cincinnati, would he be a low-end QB1 last season? Probably, in my eyes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good point. And We know how much you love Kirk Cousins' weapons, especially Adam Thielen. Got him ranked nice and high. So again, I think all three of those are realistic and moves that you can make for someone that we're 8 spots below consensus on Mac Jones. But I know there's plenty of Mac Jones believers out there because I get plenty of flack if I tweet anything about Mac Jones. So apologies in advance. But we'll move on to running back position now, and the dynasty sell we're going to talk about is Joe Mixon. Keep trade cut has him at running back 7, and we're way down at running back 8. So we're not far off, but there's a little bit of concern with Joe Mixon. Obviously, was the running back 4 in 2021 with the 16 total touchdowns, which is the highest of career so far by some distance. So is he due to regress a little bit this year? Maybe. He only had 45 targets the whole of 2021, which was the 28th most targeted running back. Is not really known for that, which was it was actually 1 target behind Brandon Bolden. Can you remember him? Which is
Wow.
But he is in a continuation of the same offense. But he's obviously had a few injuries in his career. I think 2020 was a bad year for Mixon. And he's also going to be 26 this month, so he's getting to that age where every dynasty player wants to sell their running backs when they hit 26 years old. But there's also talks the last few weeks that he's unlikely to be a 3 down back in 2022, and citing the pass protection issues that he had last year. So if you're getting just a 2 down running back, although it's on a decent team, I think running back 7 is a price that you want to be moving off Joe Mixon. He's also, the Bengals have an out on Mixon's contract from this year, which is 8.25 million, and it drops down each year after that. So they could choose to move off him. We shall see. He's obviously a lock for this year, but going forward in Dynasty, there's a few question marks. So my pivot up would be, and I'm not sure whether this would get it done, but we shall see. Joe Mixon and a 2023 second to move up to Javonte Williams. Obviously, Javonte Williams was the darling of the fantasy Twitter world last season. We saw some fantastic, sexy runs from Javonte. But obviously, it was pretty much a 50-50 timeshare with Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon's re-signed. I think had he not re-signed, then Javonte Williams would have been looked at pretty similar to DeAndre Swift and getting up to Jonathan Taylor territory if he was going to be the guy on a good improving offense. But Melvin Gordon's going to be back. Melvin Gordon has said that he doesn't want to give too many snaps to Javonte. He wants to fight for his place. And I think because the Broncos they're going for it this year, I think they're going to use both their running backs. So it might be another, I'm not going to say disappointing year for Javonte, but it's not going to be the massive breakout that everybody expects. So I think moving for Joe Mixon now, while Melvin Gordon is on the offense, is the move to make. And I think I wouldn't pay a first on top of Joe Mixon to get to Javonte, but I think a second might get it done.
Yeah, I'm not too sure either. I think you would have to probably give a first, but I think if you are given a first to move up off Joe Mixon, I'd make it 24 first. I'm not giving up 23 first, like for pretty much anyone. Me in the same tier, it was really tricky because I've got Mixon a tier of his own, just in between the good stuff and the less good stuff that's also still pretty good. So I think Austin Eckler for me is a guy that's below him at keep trade cut, the next guy in line. I think he's got a higher ceiling, higher floor. Yeah, he is a year older, but I just feel that sort of the receptions make him a safer guy than Mixon, who's a touchdown guy. So yeah, Austin Eckler, if you can get him straight up for Mixon, snap the hand off.
Yeah, I like it, and I've gone for the pivot down. I've kind of stole your little tactic from the last one, taking advantage of keep trade cut in their calculator over there. I've gone for Joe Mixon and a 24 first, going and getting Saquon Barkley and a 23 first. To me, there's not a great deal between Joe Mixon and Saquon Barkley, but I understand that there's going to be people concerned, obviously, coming off that tough injury that I think was a bit of a fluke injury. It wasn't. Do you know what I mean? It was kind of just an unfortunate injury, should I say. So I feel like Saquon Barkley, if he's back and healthy, we know the elite upside that he's got as a running back. And this is a guy that's going to be a workhorse for the Giants. And then being able to get that 23 first, swapping a 24 first for a 23 first is just icing on the cake, really. Because to be honest, I don't have a great deal. I think I've got him RB8, RB9 in my rankings. So the fact that I can pretty much same tier, just a lateral move and getting that 23 first, taking a shot at that tasty 23 class. Yeah, that's the pivot down I'm making. Barely giving up anything and getting a potential superstar in that 23 first.
Yeah, I love it. I was just checking out our rankings. We've got Saquon 9. You're 9, Matt. I'm 10, and Kev's 11. So there's not too many places between him and him and Joe Mixon. And I think it's a definitely a move that I'd make to pick up that 23 first. I think Saquon's gonna be back. I'm not gonna say to his best, but looking a lot better this year, should we say? We'll move on to our second running back and back to Kev. Who is your dynasty sell here?
Yeah, it's Nick Chubb, innit? I mean, you don't get a lot of love on this show. Running back 12 at Keep Trade Cut, running back 17 in our eyes as a consensus. When his name came up on the streamathon, we give him plenty of grief then. He was a bit fiery, but yeah, he's still overrated in our eyes. I think if we're talking real life, he's unbelievable. What a great runner, so talented, but not really bothered about real life. We're bothered about fantasy. We're not bothered about dynasty. So 20 plus receptions. He's had that once in his career, which is pretty terrible. Touchdowns are key for him, which makes him volatile. He's had 8 in every season, which is solid. It's consistent, but week to week, again, it's dangerous as a running back one on your team. And plus, he's 27 in season, and he's not Derrick Henry. He's never been Derrick Henry. He never will be Derrick Henry. So that sort of profile, it's a no for me. Sorry, but just think about pivoting up from Nick Chubb. I thought about this, and I was trying to be positive and think, if I had Nick Chubb, what would I do? And I have to be positive on him. And I'm thinking, I'd have to go for an older guy. I can't see anybody selling me a young asset for Nick Chubb because he's terrible in fantasy. But yeah, I went for Christian McCaffrey. I think similar age, throw in a second on that. 24 second, it reckons, would get it done on top of Chubb to get CMC. Again, I'm not certain that would be the case. I'd happily give a 24 first, so personally, to get Christian McCaffrey. Ceiling is RB1, better than Jonathan Taylor, so I'd be willing to do that in an all-in move, but not a 23 first.
Yeah, to be honest, I was a little bit like yourself, obviously dealing with the players in this same tier, and like I said, I don't think you could really get any of these younger guys for someone like Nick Chubb. Obviously, Travis Etienne, a guy that's getting a lot of hype. That I personally make that move, but in the tiers, Etienne's right up there, and I think his value keeps growing every day. So, yeah, a little bit like yourself, Kev. I went for a guy that's maybe another older running back. I've gone for Alvin Kamara just because with me and running backs, you've got to catch the ball. That's what gets me excited when it comes to running backs. If you can catch the ball, we know that receptions are worth far more than rushes in terms of production for fantasy and running backs. So getting someone like Alvin Kamara, I think that's easily the move that I'd make. I know there's risk attached, obviously. Potential suspension coming up, might miss the first 6 games. But I just think with Alvin Kamara, I feel like he's got a bit more longevity in him as well. The way that he was used early on in his career, I feel like he's still got a lot of tread left on those tires. And what he did last year when he was given a larger workload was crazy good in the year before as well. So yeah, Alvin Kamara, I think that's a guy in that tier that currently on Keep Trade Cut is actually going a little bit below Nick Chubb. So a move that you should be able to make straight up as well, with the added concerns, as I say, with the suspension. I feel like this is a move you can make. And yeah, I'm just shooting for that upside in terms of receptions.
Yep, absolutely love both of them moves. Do it right now. Snap your hand off to get rid of Nick Chubb. My pivot down, I'm going to cheat a little bit and pick a couple of running backs. Not together, but it'll be either or, because I kept writing one down, deleting it, putting the other one in, deleting it, putting the other one back in. So it'd be Nick Chubb for James Conner or Leonard Fournette plus the 2023 second. Again, a couple of older guys. Both had fantastic years last year. Both were top 5, I think. James Conner obviously just signed his new deal. In fact, Leonard Fournette just signed his new deal as well. Both got 3-year contracts. Both on fantastic offenses. Going to be a continuation of that going forward. Leonard Fournette's got Rashad White for a bit of competition, but James Conner's locked in for that RB1 role. And I think I'd be very surprised if these two running backs aren't running back ones again come this season and possibly into the next season as well. So I would make that move to pick up a 2023 second. Obviously, it's going to be a pretty special class, so you could be picking up a pretty handy guy, or you can use that to trade for another veteran. So that's definitely a move I'd make. Nick Chubb is, as you mentioned, he's a fantastic real life running back, but in terms of fantasy, he's just a little bit boring, and he's relying on those touchdowns, which I'm not sure they're going to get with Jacoby Brissett as quarterback this year. I think it could be a bit of a struggle. So I think now is the time to jump off him.
Yeah.
So we'll come to our third running back, and we'll head over to you, Matt. Who's your dynasty sell here?
Yeah, going for a guy that I think none of us really like doing at the fantasy wildcard. It's Josh Jacobs. His current keep trade cut ranking RB23. We've got him at 25. So again, it's not like we're miles away from where he's currently going, but there's a lot of red flags, I think, when it comes to Josh Jacobs. We know the Raiders brought in a new GM, a new head coach. We know that they declined that 5th-year option for Josh Jacobs that they had. So he's now going to be entering his final year of his rookie contract, and that's obviously a red flag. And then the fact that it could be a running back by committee, I think, over with the Raiders. Kenyon Drake's still there. They brought in Zamir White as well, who I think can be used in a lot of ways. It didn't really show much in terms of receiving the ball in college, but I feel like they definitely like this guy to bring him in. And I'm hearing a lot of rumors that people seem to think that Zamir White's going to take this lead role in this backfield. So just that, coupled with the fact that McDaniel's coming over from New England, we know what a headache that backfield is over at New England. So if this turns into a similar kind of situation and Josh Jacobs isn't the workhorse, which he has been for the first 3 years in the NFL, if he's not getting that kind of usage, that kind of volume, yeah, I think we need to be concerned with Josh Jacobs, because he's pretty vanilla and he's pretty boring. I know, Kev, you love a bit of vanilla ice cream, but I think he's
honestly, he's nothing like vanilla. Vanilla's lovely, but
he's just okay, isn't it? Let's be honest. It's nice and plain. It does the job. That's what Josh Jacobs does. He does the job, but it doesn't wow me. He's somebody that I've never really been excited about in terms of fantasy. So yeah, my way of pivoting up and moving off of Josh Jacobs, I've gone for, and again, this is another. I think keep trade cut. They need to take a look at this calculator, because I'm not sure you get this one done either. But apparently you can. Josh Jacobs and a 24 second, you can go and get Dalvin Cook. I mean, if I can make that move, I'm making it every single day. Dalvin Cook, we know the upside there. Yeah, there's some injury concerns with Dalvin Cook. We know he struggles with injuries, but I mean, this guy can do what Josh Jacobs could do in half a season. So yeah, if you can make a move like that, I'll make it. To be honest, I'd even do a 23 second, I think, to move up and get Dalvin Cook. But yeah, that's what I'm looking to do. Go and get that elite running back rather than just a Josh Jacobs.
Would you do a 24 first?
Yeah, I think that's pushing it a bit, because I don't know, actually. I mean, I think if I were in a win now situation, I feel like Dalvin Cook, he's got a couple of years, 3 years of top end production. Josh Jacobs, I feel like it's just this is the year. If he doesn't live up to what he's done the previous few years, if we do see a bit of a decline, I'm just worried about what his situation is going to be like next year. So yeah, I think push comes to shove and I'm looking to win, I'd make that move.
Yeah, I'm going to throw out a win now situation. I'm going to trade within the same tier, and I'm going to go for Ezekiel Elliott straight up for Josh Jacobs. Obviously got plenty of miles on the clock, but Zeke Elliott surprisingly was the RB7 last year. I know he played most of the season injured. He's going to be used plenty again this year. There's obviously plenty of speculation about Josh Jacobs. He's not going to be on the Raiders next year by the looks of it. Where is he going to be playing? Is he going to be in a committee? Is he going to be the backup? Who knows what's going to happen to Josh Jacobs? But I know Ezekiel Elliott's going to give me pretty elite production this year, and then going into the future, well, who knows? But I know the Dallas offense is going to be pretty good again this year, and Zeke's going to give you a really solid floor. I think he's slightly underrated in Dynasty. So if I can pivot to Zeke Elliott from Josh Jacobs, I'm going to do that all day long.
It's funny, Ali, seeing your propaganda on Twitter before our shows. I saw you pumping up Zeke Elliott earlier. I should have known that you were going to come up on today's show. But yeah, on Josh Jacobs, I've got the pivot down, and to be honest, I think if you like Josh Jacobs, you should like this guy as well. They're basically like stunt doubles. So it's Josh Jacobs and a 24 fourth for Damian Harris and a 24 second. So both these guys played on the same team in college. I don't think there was a lot of him in as prospects, to be honest. I think the Raiders GM at the time, Mike Mayock, is it Mike Mayock? Yeah. Terrible drafter, to be honest. Yeah, he had so many whiffs, especially that draft took Farrell, Clellan Ferrell, top 4, a safety, and Josh Jacobs in his first draft, which was awful. Yeah, I think if you're getting anything extra on top of Harris, I'd be happy to do that because they're similar type guys, touchdown guys. They might have pass game potential in them, but we haven't seen it yet. They're both going to be out of contract. So, yeah, I'd move down, similar guy, and get a bit extra on top.
Yep. Okay. Love that. We give him a proper good advice tonight, aren't we? So.
We have.
I just think as well that the thing with Jacobs is, I think this 23 class, I'm no Devy expert, but I think there's a lot of good running backs coming in this 23 class. So a guy like Josh Jacobs is going to be out of contract. If the Raiders don't pick up a new contract before that draft comes in, I feel like there's not going to be many good situations for a guy like Josh Jacobs to move into and get a big role. So that's just my concern with all these running backs, to be honest, that are going to be out of contract after this season.
It wouldn't shock you, would it, if Damian Harris got a better deal than Josh Jacobs on the open market?
No, not really.
Yeah, love it. We'll move on to someone that has just got a big contract and
nice.
Move on to wide receiver. It's Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry. Keep trade cut got him at wide receiver 17, but oh dear, we've got him wide receiver 26, so we're nine spots behind consensus. I obviously signed that big new deal last week, 3 years, $71 million, $28 million signing bonus, which is the highest ever by a wide receiver. Roughly $53 million in guaranteed money. McLaurin's obviously a very talented wide receiver who's never really had a decent quarterback to throw him the ball. But in that time, no, in that time he's not broke the top 20 yet in 3 seasons yet, been ranked inside the top 20 every year. So he has got continuation of offense in terms of the coordinators anyway, Ron Rivera and Scott Turner, but he's got a new quarterback in Carson Wentz, who was once an MVP candidate, but I think now he's pretty much on his last chance with Washington. I've personally never been a McLaurin fan, and I'm not sure you boys are in on him too much either. So I'd love to pivot up, especially taking advantage of that hype around his new contract, to pivot up for Terry McLaurin, and I would even give a 2023 second to move up to DK Metcalf and a 2024 third. So it's just taking advantage of values at the minute. DK Metcalf, when he had Russell Wilson, was ranked a top 5 dynasty wide receiver. No, Russell Wilson's not there. He's looking like he's got Geno Smith or Drew Lock as his quarterback. He's now not even in some people's top 10. So I'm going to take advantage of that right now and try and trade up. And the gap between these two is a lot closer than it was, say, a year ago, 6 months ago. So that's the move that I'd love to make to a guy that I've got firmly inside my top 10 in DK Metcalf, whose situation is only going to get better, I think, in a year's time. If not, they don't trade for a quarterback this offseason. I think they're going to go for one next year. So that's the move I'd like to make.
Yeah, I'm tackling the same tier for Terry McLaurin, and I'm doing a bit of a homage to Ali missing last week's show through sunburn. He missed the opportunity to listen to our great guest Portman talk about Mike Evans. So I'm going to double up, actually. Mike Evans if you're a win now team, and Chris Godwin if you're not a win now team. They're the 2 guys I prefer in the same tier, both Bucks players. Again, I'm showing my love for the Bucks.
Smart guy.
Yeah, so I've gone for the pivot down, and like I said, Terry McLaurin's never been a guy that I've been super high on. So this is a pivot down that I'm making 10 times out of 10. Terry McLaurin a 23 third, and getting Keenan Allen a 23 second. I mean, Terry McLaurin wishes he were Keenan Allen. I think Keenan Allen tied to Justin Herbert, that top end offense. I mean, you can't even compare the two. What Terry McLaurin's got over there in Washington and dealing with Carson Wentz at quarterback, and then you can get someone like Keenan Allen tied to Justin Herbert. I know he's obviously a little bit older in age, but he's showing no signs really of slowing down. He's an absolute PPR machine, always has been, and I feel like he's still got a few years left in him to put up those elite numbers. So the fact that I can then move a third for a second in this strong looking 23 class, I think it's an easy move. And as I say, a move I'd make 10 times out of 10. I'd probably even take him straight up in a start, to be honest. I'd probably take Keenan Allen over Terry McLaurin.
I was literally about to say that. I think you'd absolutely feel fantastic if you got something on top of Keenan Allen, trading away McLaurin. But I think you got to look out for times when you say a wide receiver gets a contract, because the value immediately shoots up. And if you already weren't on that player, that's a great opportunity to pivot off him and get even more value. Yeah. So yeah, that's a great move to make. We'll come on to you, Kev, for your next Dynasty wide receiver sell and who you're going for.
Yeah, Jerry Jeudy. Keep Trade Cut's got him wide receiver 27. We've got him wide receiver 32. So it's not crazily different to what we've got, but yeah, just there is some warning signs with Jeudy for me. He's got less than 10 fantasy points per game in both his seasons in the NFL. You mentioned about contract inflation. Then there's the Russell Gage. Bloody hell, I am a Bucs fan. Russell Wilson inflation that he's got. Obviously, Wilson's coming to town. Everybody's wild for the Broncos. Might mention another Bronco a little bit later on as well. I think he's got underrated target competition on that team. Cortland Sutton's the alpha for me. Tim Patrick's good. KG Hamler's obviously one of Matt's all-time greats. The tight ends have got as well. Two brilliant running backs. I just think as well the team philosophy. You've got this new coach coming in. Will it be slow pace like the Packers were when he was there? Will it be run focused, focusing on playing elite defense, or trying to play elite defense in that division? Have they got enough of the team to topple the Chargers and the Chiefs by trying to go head to head? And personally, I don't think they are. I think they're going to slow it down, and they're going to try and make them tough games, short games as well. So yeah, Jerry Jeudy. If I'm pivoting up, I might have to give up a 24 first and go after somebody like T. Higgins. If I don't get anything on top of T. Higgins, I'm not too fussed, because I think T. Higgins is potentially a top 3 dynasty wide receiver.
No, yeah, I love that. We're all big team fans, aren't we? So we're always going to like that one, Kev. I feel like you played to us there. You knew we'd love that one. You knew we'd love that one. But yeah, I've gone for the same tier, and I've gone for Hollywood Brown. I feel like it's the guy that, moving over from the Ravens, going to the Cardinals, looked really good last year for the Ravens, despite not having that heavy volume. We know what the Ravens are like when it comes to passing the ball. You don't really see much volume for the wide receivers, but Hollywood Brown put up a really strong season, as I say, now going to the Cardinals. And I feel like he's just going to slot straight in as that wide receiver one. Obviously, there's Nuke Hopkins still there, but we know he's missing a bit of time. And that's an opportunity for Hollywood Brown to cement himself as the future for that offense, the wide receiver one for that offense. And I just feel like he's in such a great situation. And like you said, Kev, talking about Jerry Jeudy and all that competition, whereas Hollywood Brown, he's not really got a great deal to deal with. Zach Ertz is a great target in terms of a tight end, but I just feel like he stands out as a clear guy that could even see a potential increase yet again on what he did last year tied to Kyler Murray. So yeah, I really like that pivot off Jerry Jeudy and getting Hollywood Brown.
I think it's slightly disrespectful that Hollywood Brown is even in the same tier as Jerry Jeudy, because he's got a far higher ceiling than what Jerry Jeudy has. But yeah, I'm going to go for another popular one with us three. I'm going to pivot down to Big Mike Williams, and you can possibly even get something on top of Mike Williams. So 24 third. Again, it's probably something that I'd be happy just to do straight up, because I absolutely love Mike Williams. I absolutely love the Chargers offense. If I can grab any piece of this offense, I am, and I absolutely love it. I've got a few already Mike Williams shares. I've got none of Jeudy. Obviously, Joe Jeudy could easily take the next step. As you mentioned, there's just so many mouths to feed in that offense. We yet to see it. I think Mike Williams with the contract, he took a step last year. I think he's just gonna just going to absolutely ball out this year. Justin Herbert's going to be just as good, if not better, this year. It's going to be all Mike Williams, all Austin Eckler, and all Keenan Allen. So yeah, I want a piece of this offense. So I would easily pivot probably straight up, but keep Trey Carter's telling me that you can get a little bit on top of Mike Williams. So that's easily a move that I would make in any situation, to be honest.
I'm shocked that Mike Williams is below Joe. Like you said with Hollywood Brown, I'm shocked that Mike Williams is even in a tier below Joe Judy, to be honest.
I know.
Crazy.
It is crazy. We'll move on to another guy that it's crazy that there's 12 spots between Keep Trey Cut and us. Matt, we'll move on to you.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably going to go down like a poo sandwich, to be honest, with the community, because everyone's absolutely loving this guy, Gabe Davis. Keep Trade Cut's currently going wide receiver 36, but to be honest, in recording this, he might have jumped a couple of spots higher with the way that the hype's building. But yeah, like you said, we've got him wide receiver 48, so we're definitely this is probably the one guy I think that we're well down on compared to consensus. And I say that the hype it's unbelievable, to be honest. It makes me laugh every time I see it on Twitter, to be honest. The amount of hype every day you're seeing somebody hyping in Gabe Davis up, and I just can't get over why, to be honest. It must be due to the fact that obviously he had that 200-yard 4-touchdown game in the playoffs against the Chiefs. But apart from that, what's he really done in terms of fantasy? 2 wide receiver 57 finishes, nothing to get excited about. I understand that he's on a really solid offense over at Buffalo. He's potentially going to be that wide receiver 2 there, but I feel like they brought in some guys, someone like Jamison Crowder. I feel like he's a guy that's going to see plenty of targets. We know that quarterbacks love Jamison Crowder. We saw it over with the Jets. So I feel like people are maybe sleeping on what Jamison Crowder can do for that offense. So yeah, I'm just shocked, to be honest, that the hype keeps on building for Gabe Davis. A guy, was he a 4th round pick, I believe? A few years ago. So I just don't see it, to be honest. I don't feel like we've seen enough to get this excited. Just that one game in the playoffs, which didn't even get you any points in fantasy. So yeah, I just don't understand it. But like you said, Ali, the fact that these guys that we're not high on are getting this kind of hype means that you can make some great trades, take advantage of that increase in value. So a move that you can make going to Keep Trade Cut, and again, this is one that I'm doing every single day of the week, is Gabe Davis and a 24-second and go and get DJ Moore. I mean, it's again crazy that you can even, if you told me a year ago that you could trade just a 2nd-round pick on top of Gabe Davis and get DJ Moore, I would not have believed, to be honest. I mean, DJ Moore, while he's not shown that elite upside that we all feel he's got because he doesn't get those touchdowns, he's still a guy that he has 1,000-yard seasons for fun. He's a little bit like Mike Evans, to be honest, just without the touchdowns. So if he can start getting a few more touchdowns, you're going to be absolutely laughing this time next year if you've made a move like this, getting somebody like DJ Moore for Gabe Davis. Yeah, I mean, every day, every single day, sign me up.
You've had the pants down.
Absolutely. I mean, take advantage. I mean, love it. I wish I had some Gabe Davis, to be honest. This is making me upset that I don't have it.
I just took a share in a startup, so I might have to throw some offers out there. But I've got the same tier. So there's quite a few guys, but the guy I've selected is Brandon Ayuk, and I'm trusting our fellow co-host Matt here because it was last off season he was calling the Deebo Samuel breakout, and he's been hyping up Brandon Ayuk a little bit this off season. So if I can get 50% of Deebo last year, then I'll be pretty happy with Brandon Ayuk. Obviously, he started the last year in the doghouse, but when he made himself available and got back on good terms with Kyle Shanahan, he showed up pretty well, Brandon Ayuk. And obviously with this situation with Deebo that's going on right now, it looks like he's probably going to sign a new contract, but who knows? And then what sort of Deebo are we going to see on the field? Are we going to see the same Deebo as last year? Well, he's obviously said he wants to come out and just be purely a wide receiver. So there's probably more scope for targets and production from Brandon Ayuk in this offense. And it's an offense that who knows where it's going to be this year with Trey Lance taking over. We had Jimmy G, the game manager here last year, but Trey Lance has got the ability to take it to another level. So Brandon Ayuk's got more upside than what Gabe Davis has, and that's definitely a move that I'd pivot to straight up.
Yeah, I'm on the pivot down, but it's actually a pivot up in my rankings.
Pivot
pretty significantly. It's like a massive pivot up, but pivoting down by the consensus, it's moving to a guy who I like a little. I might have mentioned him once or twice, but not much. Juju Smith-Schuster. Gabe Davidson a 24-second to get Juju in a 23-second. So you're getting a year in front. You're getting a better draft class as well in my eyes. So yeah, Gabe Davis for Juju. I'd do it straight up. I'd maybe even give a little bit up on top of Juju, on top of Gabe Davis to get Juju as well. So yeah, Gabe Davis, so funny.
It's absolutely ridiculous, that ranking.
Crazy.
But yeah, we'll come on to tight end and another ranking that's getting a little bit ridiculous. It's a guy that I've been shouting about for the last couple of years, and it's Cole Kmet. Keep Trade Cut has got him at tight end 10, but we've got him at tight end 14. He had a pretty nice jump last season, so he finishes tight end 43 in his rookie year. He jumped to tight end 21 last season. But the Chicago Bears have obviously got a new coach and staff. He's seemingly in a great position, but then has he really got the talent to take the next step to get into the next tier? You're looking at the next tier, people like Dallas Goedert, Pat Freiermuth, and Dalton Schultz. So that, to me, I'm not sure he's got the talent to get up there in terms of those three guys. And then obviously he's not going to get any further than that. So tight end 10, I think that is literally his ceiling where he is on Keep Trade Cut. So the pivot up that I'd like to make is Cole Kmet and a 2024 second to Dalton Schultz, and you're going to get a 2024 third back in place. And that's a move that I'd make it all day long. I'd probably wouldn't even want the bit on top of Dalton Schultz. I'd be happy to offer a 24 second to go up to Schultz. He's someone that I know Kev really likes. He's someone that's really rised up in my rankings. I think he's going to be an absolute stud at the tight end position. Had the great finish last year, and I think he's only going to get better. And I hope that he earns himself that contract with the Cowboys. And if he does, then there's no reason why Schultz can't eventually make it into the top 5 or 6 tight ends. I really believe that he's got the ability to do that. So if I can just offer a 24 second to move up to Dalton Schultz, then I'm doing it.
Yeah, first off, I'd like to apologise, Charlie, because obviously you're a big Cole Kmet fan, and I was putting the show sheet together, which we picked, and somehow you landed on Cole Kmet to talk about the sell. I don't know how that happened, but yeah, my feelings on this sort of range of tight ends really is I won't be going near him. I think tight end 10 is crazy for Cole Kmet. It is his ceiling in my eyes. We've got him tight end 14. I'm going to be lower than 14, aren't I, really? But yeah, my move in the same tier will be a guy like Mike Gesicki, just because he's been a top 8 tight end last season. It's potentially a better offense, substantially based on sort of the O-line additions, the weapons that will free up even more space. Maybe Tua is actually really good as well. We'll have to see about that. But yeah, Mike Gesicki, I do that straight up and just hope either Tua takes a step or he gets a better job next offseason once his tags run up.
Yeah, and I've gone for the pivot down. And to be honest, I absolutely love the pivot down. Like you boys have just talked about, these kind of tight ends in this kind of range. If you can get anything on top of a piece, I mean, all these guys are pretty similar, to be honest. So the fact that you can get a bit extra is something you should always be looking to do when it comes to this range of tight ends. So the pivot down, I've gone for Cole Kmet and a 24 third. Go and get Zach Ertz in a 24 second. I feel like Zach Ertz, I spoke about it a little bit earlier, and to be honest, this is a guy that I'm really starting to get excited by, mainly for this year and maybe next year, because he is getting up there in age. But what he can offer you in terms of production right now is it's nowhere near. Cole Kmet, I don't think he's going to get anywhere near what Zach Ertz can do, to be honest. We've seen what he's done previous. And as I say, to be able to pivot down and get Zach Ertz and then move up from a third to a second, albeit a 24th, I feel like that's a move you've got to make, to be honest. You're getting a tight end that can give you production, and then getting a second for a third. It's an easy move for me. And as I say, these pivot downs are something I'm always looking to do with this range of tight ends.
Yep, love it. I think Zach Ertz has definitely got a higher ceiling than Cole Kmet. So why would you not make the move? And especially if you're gonna pick up a little bit of value on top, I think that makes terrific sense. We'll go on to our final player, and it's the tight end that Kev is going to tell us the full name of. Kev.
Dynasty sell. Albert O. So just if you didn't hear that first time, it's Albert O. Who's Titan 16 at Keep Trade.
Kev's lagging out again.
Yeah, it's my internet. It's gone again. What is it? Okwebunam. We'll go for that.
Sounds good to me.
So yeah, Titan 16 at Keep Trade Cup, tight end 18 in our Wildcard Expert consensus ranking. Second Bronco player we've discussed in it, really. So again, Russell Wilson inflation that you've got there. He was heading towards a tight end 1 range earlier on this offseason. Then Greg Dulcich got drafted in the 3rd, and it pumped the brakes on him because Dulcich has got their draft capital. You've got the new coach in town. You've got a second-year GM who didn't draft Albert O, so there's no deep ties towards him. I think that the talent is there in my eyes. I think the athleticism's there as well, but I'd be worried about Albert O personally. I think as well, we discussed on Jerry Judy, the target competition, that what this team's potentially going to try and do from a philosophy point of view. I think it makes all the Broncos or most of the Broncos potential sells, which is why we've discussed 2 of them today. Pivoting up from Albert O, I want to go as high as possible. I'd be willing to give up a first, the 24th first, to go and get Travis Kelce. If you can get anything else on top, smash him. But I think it's a fair offer to offer a first and a guy that's got upside to a Kelce owner who's 32. If not a super elite contending team, you'd have to consider it. And I think, would I give a 23 first? No. But 24, I'd maybe even give a 24 first and second on top of Albert O if I was really keen and felt that was a final piece.
Yeah, definitely. And I've gone for the same tier. And again, it's a tough one, really, because these guys, it's hard to get excited by anyone. But there's one that stands out for me, and I'm holding true. And I'm going for the guy whose job he's taking. I'm going for Noah Fant over with the Seahawks now. And I just feel like I'm just banking on that draft capital. I mean, the guy was picked in the 1st round. We know he's got that huge upside in terms of his athleticism. So the fact he's going over to the Seahawks, I feel like he was actually a key piece in the trade for Russell Wilson. I know there was some first involved, and they're obviously the key part of it. But to go and get a Noah Fant at first round tight end, I feel like the Seahawks have got some kind of plan for him, and rumors that he's showing out as well in training camp as well. So yeah, go and get the guy whose job that Albert O is taking. Go and get Noah Fant, and I feel like there's more upside there with Noah Fant. And to be honest, I feel like the situation's probably a little bit better over the Seahawks. Sticking with the same quarterback, sticking with Drew Lock if he wins the job, and we know there's a little bit of connection there between the 2 of them. So if Drew Lock is the starter for the Seahawks, then that could be another little bump for Noah Fant as well. But yeah, I'm banking on that draft capital that Noah Fant's got, and that's the move I've been making.
Hey, Matt, can you remember on Streamathon when you made me change Fant above Albert O?
I do, yeah. Nice bit of gentle persuasion, and I got you there. So
I'm still there as well. I've not changed it back either.
Love it.
Yeah, I've got Fant miles above Albert O, so that's definitely a move that I'd make as well. I think I've been stitched up for the pivot down because I was looking at the tiers below. There's a big tier where Albert O is in, but then the tiers below are absolutely pretty disgusting. But the move that I would have to make or suggest would be Hunter Henry in a 2023 third. Obviously, Hunter Henry finishes the tight end 10 last season. We know the talent that Hunter Henry comes with, but he's always found himself injured when he was at the Chargers. But now he got the big move to the Patriots, and he's one of the featured guys in the offense. And I don't think that's going to change come this year. Johnny Smith might make his way back into the offense, but Hunter Henry, I think, is one of the primary targets. So he's quite touchdown dependent, but a guy that's going to pretty much, I can see him finishing in the same spot come this season. He's going to be a low tight end 1. So if you want a more sort of safer option, then to get Hunter Henry plus a little bit on top, and you never know what comes with that draft pick. So that's a move that I would make. Although I'd much prefer to try and trade up from Albert O than trade down. I wouldn't suggest trying to trade down with many tight ends. So, but Carry on, Kev.
I'm just going to say it's funny because I think most of the trades we've done today would probably feel more comfortable trading down and pivoting down. Apart from this one for me, this one's kind of like, well, if I pivot down, it's probably going to be like a rookie or someone that's an even bigger dart shot. But I think Hunter Henry is fine. Pivot down to get something on top and something that's going to help you now.
The original guy that I had in there was Jelani Woods. So yeah, it is a rookie that we're all pretty high on, but yeah, I'm just going to pivot to a safer option here in Hunter Henry. So that
bonus
brings
trade for everyone, then, wasn't it? A bonus.
It was
Jelani Woods.
It was very bonus. So that brings us to the end of the show where we've discussed our dynasty sales and trade ideas to move off these assets. So, is there any final thoughts on tonight's show? Come to you first, Kev.
I mean, first of all, it's first time we've done a show like this where we've give sort of multiple trade advice on each player, and I think I've personally really enjoyed looking into it, researching, and hearing all of our free trades. I think we've absolutely nailed it. Not being big-headed or anything, but we have smashed it. It's given some great ideas. It's helping you with your thought process the other way as well, which we might be coming on to in our next show. So yeah, cracking show, great suggestions. We're going to be doing this again, no doubt.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I've really enjoyed just looking into some of the trades, some of the moves you can make with these guys, and I just think it's the general thing in Dynasty. You should be open to selling anybody, and the fact that we've offered suggestions of where you can move up and improve your situation, or if you're feeling like you can afford to drop down on that position, then we'll give you a suggestion on ways you can do that as well. So yeah, really enjoyed the show as a whole. I feel like, as I say, if you've got to be looking to move players if the opportunity arises, and there's always ways around making trades, whether it is moving up or moving down, or even just staying in the same tier and getting a guy that you like, and just taking advantage of those increase in values that some of these players are getting right now.
Yeah, I think you absolutely nailed that, Matt. And just looking at the list, the last few guys we talked about, like Albert O, Cole Kmet, Gabe Davis, Jerry Judy, they've all seen a nice boost in value this past off season with the moves that's been made by their team. So it's always a great thing to look out for how you can take advantage of situations and move off these guys and sell them for more than you would perhaps 6 months ago. So yeah, and it's also given me a few ideas for some trades that I could send out and pivot to. So we're definitely gonna have to do this show again in a few months' time. Absolutely loved it. So thank you for tuning in, and be sure to subscribe and follow us on Twitter at Fantasy Wildcard. And also leave us a 5-star podcast review if you've enjoyed tonight's show. It really does help us get exposure to a wider audience. And then our next show drops on Tuesday, the 12th of July, where, surprise, surprise, we're going to be discussing our dynasty buys and trade ideas to acquire these assets. So yeah, look forward to some more fantastic advice from the boys. So thank you once again. Have a good one,